Good morning, sweet peas. Basic prepper mom Myra here. Normally I try to steer away from political stuff, although this isn't really political, so I guess that's okay. I want to talk about everything that's kind of going on. I'm going to try to wrap this up pretty quickly. So there are estimates from what I've read and what I've seen and what I've heard from various sources that they're predicting that we're really going to see severe shortages in our, not only just our supply chain, but our food supply chain by this summer. Some people are saying within 2 to 4 weeks. Some people are saying by the midsummer. Some people are saying like the end of summer, beginning of fall. But regardless, within the next few months, we're going to see a big supply chain crisis. We're going to see a food crisis as well. Now, there are those out there who just are very insistent that we don't have to worry about it, that the food supply issues are third world problems, that they're overseas, they don't involve us. We have enough farms, we have enough things here to feed us. Well, unfortunately, they are incorrect in that, and I think that those who believe that are very misinformed and very blind. We get most of our food, unfortunately, from overseas. It is actually exported over. The other issue with that is even the, let's say the animals that we raise here, specifically the poultry that we raise here, and I believe some of the pork, but I have to check on that, which I've never understood. This absolutely blows my mind. But we will do the first part of the process here on poultry, but then we ship all of the poultry overseas and have them cut and package and everything and then ship it back to us. Never understood that. Or we raise it here, send it over there for full processing, which I honestly don't even know the thought process in that. Well, I do, but we'll not go there right now. So we are going to have an issue. We are going to have, and of course we had the bird flu that's going around, that's still out there somewhere. We've got the first person that was diagnosed with bird flu here in the US, and that should have been a red flag right off. Like, as soon as the first person, that just should be a huge red flag as to where this is going to go. Not that the 30 million or more now poultry that have been euthanized in the US, not that that shouldn't have been an alarm, but I just want everyone to keep all of this stuff in mind, because it's not just one event that we're talking about. It's just not one issue that we're talking about. We're talking about multiple issues and how that's going to affect us. So we definitely know that there's going to be a supply chain issue. There's definitely going to be a food issue. And so we continue to stock up, and our food prices prices in general, our inflation is going through the roof right now. The other thing that I did here, just a word for those of you who partake in this or do this, I've heard that gold and silver prices have actually dropped quite a bit, which prediction is that they're gonna, that they kind of do this drop and then they come back up. So if you are the type of person that buys gold and silver, now is probably the time to do that. I am not a financial expert. I am not advising you financially, nor do I know what the price is currently, but I'm just saying it might be something to look into if that's what you do. Don't know when they're gonna pop back up, but might want to look into that. I think I'm going to look into that as well, although it's something that I've never done, so little iffy on that, but just throwing that out there, a little sidebar there. We do know, like I said, that there's going to be all of these issues that are coming up, and even though prices are high, even though they continue to go higher, I say continue to stock and store and do what you can. Now, there are two different things that you have to consider when stocking and storing. You have your long-term storage, and you also have your what a lot of people call your working pantry. Now, your working pantry are going to be your canned goods, fruits and vegetables and stuff that you guys normally would use on a regular basis. And that's what I've talked about in the past, about this rotation. So you go through your pantry and you rotate things, and as you use things, you stock those back up with the newer things. So it's kind of this rotation. That's your working pantry, but you always have enough stored that you're not going to run out, and when you do use something is when you go and replace that. Now, your long-term storage is more of your your MREs or your survival meal preps, or things that you have dehydrated or freeze-dried that have a longer shelf life. I would say, my opinion, a longer shelf life than 5 years or more would be your long-term storage. Anything under that would be considered your working pantry. Now, in the very beginning of all this, I'm going to be really honest with you. In the very beginning of all this, I had no idea what I was doing. And I'm still learning every day. But I kind of panicked. And so the only thing that I knew to do was to go out and buy a whole bunch of flours and salts and different kinds of flours and put them in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers and seal them up and, put the date on them and label them and put them away. Now, that's been about a year and a half ago, I want to say. Year ago, something like that, year and a half ago. I don't even know, I have to look at the date now. And that's going to be something that I'm going to have to go back through and at least open up one or two and make sure that they're still good. Because if one package around that date is rancid, then chances are everything else is as well. My rice and beans that are in there, I'm not too concerned about that. That I would say, in my opinion, the dry beans and the dry rice, if they're stored properly, would be more long-term storage because they do have a longer shelf life. And if they are packaged correctly, they'll have an even longer shelf life. But I'm gonna have to go back through and look at that. But I've also since then bought whole wheat berries and whole corn because when you package those up, they have a longer shelf life and you can grind them up. Anything that's already processed out is going to have a shorter shelf life and have a chance to go rancid. So it's really a good idea to get the whole wheat berries or the whole corn, and then I have a hand grinder to be able to grind that up by hand, just in case. So you have your working pantry and you have your long-term storage. Definitely now is the time to start looking at and really taking inventory, which realistically you should be taking inventory at least twice a year as to what you have and go through things. Make sure that if you have stuff that has been canned, then you make sure you go through and you make sure the seals are still good. You make sure that everything is still good and still okay. So that is that's that part of the situation. Sorry, gotta have a little brain fade there for a minute. But also want to talk about something that really bothers me, and this has bothered me for quite a while, and it continues to bother me because the U.S. continues to do it. So when we look at everything that we've sent over to the Ukraine, when we look at our military weapons, our military items that we send over there, we continue to send more and more things over to the Ukraine. Now, there's a couple different scenarios that go through my head. First of all, and this is my, let's all put our tinfoil hats on, my tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, is that ultimately Zelensky got it in the back of his mind that eventually he's going to work with Russia and China, that they could come to some sort of agreement. And then he's got all of these U.S. military weapons there that he's gotten from us. So it would be a really, really great idea and very beneficial for him to, once he gets all of our weapons, to strike a deal with Russia and China and say, hey, look, now I've got all these U.S. military that we can combine forces and be really powerful. That's my conspiracy theory on it. And then leave us kind of out in the dust. The other thought to that is that we're continuing, it's kind of along the same lines, but that Zelensky is not really involved in the taking over, so to speak. But we're continuing giving all of our weapons to Ukraine. Well, that leaves us, the U.S., kind of unprotected. We now have a very limited source of military items, and most of our things that we source to make those military items, to make the ammo, to make all of this stuff, most of the things that we source are coming from overseas. So if we're now cut off from all of our sources to be able to resupply our military stuff, equipment and weapons, then once again that leaves us out in the dust. We don't have enough resources here in the U.S. to actually build back up that military. We need those resources from overseas. So what's going to happen? Well, I I think that U.S. is being left high and dry right now, to be quite honest. So, you know, and people are saying, hey, this is the closest that we've ever been to a nuclear war since the Cuban Missile Crisis. We are 10 times closer than we ever were then. And like I said, with all of our military personnel or all of our military weapons overseas, it leaves us here in the U.S., we're kind of an open target now. I don't really want to say that, but it is what it is. So the more we continue to send over there, the less we are protected here. So what do? Well, continue to stock up, continue to store, continue to prepare, continue to look at your emergency preparedness for war type activity. Let's just go there. Look at your, you know, and a lot of people are like, you know what, if we get hit with a nuke, prepared stuff is not going to matter. What's it going to matter if I have, you know, 3 years of food stocked up? What's it going to matter if I have 2 years of first aid supplies? If we get hit with a nuclear bomb, we're all done for it. Not necessarily. There are different types of nukes. There are different levels of nukes. So not necessarily. But my suggestion would be to look into that and see where you are best, where your best bet is to be able to survive something if it were to happen. Obviously, if you live in a bigger city, the closer to the bigger city that you are, the more difficult it is going to be able to get around that, because I think that's what's going to be hit first if we were to go to that, in my opinion, is that obviously they're going to hit the bigger cities. So the more rural you are, the more out in the kind of country you are, the better chance that you have. If you have an opportunity to build some sort of bunker, then hey, go for it. Do that. Absolutely. Because in any situation, even in a storm situation, not a bad idea. Just saying. I just really like, and if you do have a bunker, you can also use them as like root cellars, and which I really like too. So, you know, you can store stuff in there. You can hide stuff away. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bunker for a war. So that is what I have to talk about today. So go through your preps, go through your stores, make sure that you have long-term storage, make sure that you are using your working pantry as you're supposed to, still make those connections like we had talked about before. And I really think that as far as the US is concerned, we're kind of sitting ducks right now, and it's very unsettling the more that we give them. So that is just my opinion. I hope you guys have a wonderful, amazing day. Once again, if you have any comments or questions, reach out to me, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a great day.